Hello. In this episode, we're going to talk about factoring trinomial of the form of x squared plus bx plus c. In this form, the coefficient, the leading coefficient is 1. So it's 1 times x squared plus bx plus c. Usually b, c are integers. And if the leading coefficient is 1, we don't have to write it. Okay, for example, we're going to show how to factor this, even though there are many, many different ways to factor. So we're going to use this specific way to factor. It's like playing a kind of board game. And we're going to use some examples to show you how this game is played. All right, so pretend we don't know the answer. Okay, so first of all, when we look at the leading coefficient, which is 1, and this number 1 here, right? You can write it down visibly or invisibly. It's 1 times x squared. So this 1 is written as 1 times 1, okay, vertically. So this is how we're going to set up the game before it starts playing. And the constant, which is 6, 6 can be written as 6 equals to 2 times 3, -2 times -3, and it could come in different order: 3 times 2, -3 times -2 times -3, or 1 times 6, etc., right? -1 times -6. So there's all these different ways of getting 6, okay? For 1, of course, 1 can be written as 1 times 1 or -1 times -1 as well. But now with 1 times 1 setup, we're going to pick up these options and put them here. For example, I would pick the first option, 2, 3, and then I would do the cross product. Okay, 1 times 2 is equals to 2. So 2 will be written here. That's 1 times 2. 1 times 3, that's going to be put over here. And then we're going to add these two numbers. When we add these two numbers, the sum is placed here. And the 5 should match the 5 plus 5 right here. If we make that match, then we will not need to try all these other ways. We can just ignore them. And we have found our factors. Okay, so let's see how we're going to compose these factors. When we compose these factors, we take the first number on the first row and the second number on the first row. So the first number on this row is, of course, is 1. 1 multiplied by x. Okay, and then this is 2. 2 is a positive 2, so we're going to write a plus 2. On the second row, it's 1, 3, so the number 1 will be written as 1 times x, and there's a 3 here as a positive 3, so we're going to write plus 3. Okay, so because we made the match, so we have found our factors. So now we're going to put the answers in place. Okay, 1 times x plus 2 is x plus 2. So we get x plus 2. And 1 times x plus 3, we got x plus 3. So this is x plus 3. And we can also check the answer. To check the answer, we just have to FOIL the product. If we FOIL the product, we got what we had originally, then we got it. Otherwise, we need to double check our work and maybe trying other options. So in this case, we have x times x is x squared plus 3 times x plus 2 times x plus 6. combining like terms, so we have x squared plus 5x plus 6. So we got the factors. So we got it factored completely. Okay, so let's try another example. Okay, for example number 2, we have, say, we have x squared plus 12x plus 20. Okay, so we're going to use the same setup, the same way to play the game. Right here. Okay, so let me clean up this right here. And we're going to factor. And we're going to factor and going through the same process, Okay, so once again, 1 equals to 1 times 1. And 20, well, 20 can be written in many different ways. It can be written as 4 times 5, right? It can be written as -4 times -5. It can be written as 2 times 10. It can be written as 1 times 20. So, okay, there's all these different, of course, there's a -2 times -10, -1 times -20. There are all these options. So we're going to try one by one. Okay, so first let's try 4, 5, right? 4 times 5. So 20, positive 20 is equals to 4 times 5. Okay, and then we're going to do the cross product. Okay, cross multiplication. 1 times 4, we get 1 times 4, we get 4. We get a 4 here. Okay, we can change this color to be consistent. 1 times 5, we have a 5. 4 plus 5 is 9. It does not match the positive 12 here. So this tells us that this option doesn't work. This option doesn't work. Okay, so we'll continue to try it. We'll continue to try it to try the next option. Okay, so how about -4 times -5? That's going to give us -4 plus -5 here, right? Cross multiplication. 1 times -4 is -4. 1 times -5 is -5. And now we get -9. -9 still does not match the positive 12 here. Well, we will have to continue to try. Okay, but by this time we have ruled out the second option. Okay, the second option is ruled out. So let's try 2 and 10, right? So 2 times 10 equals to 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 10 is 10. And 2 plus 10 is 12. And 12 matches the positive 12 right there. Okay, so that you can see this process is a trial and error. So until we find this perfect match, we got it. So we don't have to try the rest of them. We don't have to try the rest of these other options. And we can start to compose our factors. Okay, we can start to compose our factors. So when we start to compose our factors, we're going to compose it the same way. Okay, so 1 is 1 times x. Okay, plus 2. Okay, 1 times x plus 2. And this next line, okay, and we're going to have 1 times x plus 10. There we go. Okay, so we have these factors here. So we get x plus 2 times x plus 10. And check our work. check our work, we take it, and we FOIL. Okay, and we get x squared plus 10x plus 2x plus 20. Combine like terms, we get x squared plus 12x plus 20, which is exactly the same as what the original form that was given. So we found our factors. Okay, so let's look at a couple more examples. Okay, example number 3. Okay, example number 3, for example, suppose we have x squared plus 2x minus 15. Okay, so we're going to factor them using the same board game. And number two is a number to match, right? So we're trying to match number 2. And 1 is equals to 1 times 1. Negative 15. Okay, so let's see, negative 15 is equals to negative 3 times 5, right? It equals to 3 times negative 5. Okay, it equals to 1 times negative 15. It also equals to negative 1 times 15. Okay, so once again, we're going to try one by one. We're going to try one pair at a time. So suppose we try negative 3 with negative 3 times 5. So negative 3 times 5. Okay, and we do the cross product. So cross multiplication. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. And 1 times 5 is 5. Negative 3 plus 5, we get positive 2. Well, we get it right. We made the match the first time. Perfect. So then we just make our factors. Okay, so this is going to be 1 times x minus 3. So as you practice with these format, you are definitely going to get better. Plus 5. Okay, so we got our factors. So let me clean this up a little bit. Okay, and that's how you could factor. You can use other schemes other setups to factor, because there's so many other ways to do it. And you have learned other ways to do it, try it. They all originated from the same idea though. So the factors we get here is x minus 3 times x plus 5. And once again, we can check our work and do the FOIL again. Okay, so we have x times x, that's going to be x squared plus 5x minus 3x minus 15 equals to x squared plus 2x minus 15. Right? So let's look at a couple more examples. Example number 4. Okay, suppose this time we have x squared minus 25. Okay. In this case, if you don't know the special formula, okay, if you know the special formula, you can just go ahead and factor it. If you suppose you're not sure about the special formula, and you can still use this setup to factor this. okay? But what number to match? What number to match? You see, we don't have an x, we don't have a x term, right? So we can regard this as 0 times x. Okay, so x, the co-leading coefficient is 1, so 1 times 1 is 1. And negative 25 is negative 5 times 5. Cross multiplication, so you get negative 5. And 1 times 5 is 5. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. We match the 0 here. And we're going to get x minus 5 times x plus 5. Okay. And of course, it will be the same answer if you know the special formula. If you know the special formula, you certainly don't need to go through this process. But you can see this method, it could apply to, in some cases, to the two terms. Okay, so finally you get x plus 5 times x minus 5. And of course, if you know the special formula, okay, so I'm going to talk about that special formula after we check this work. Okay, so if you check your work, you're certainly going to get x squared, x squared minus 25. Good. Okay, so we got that. The special formula I'm into is that a plus b times a minus b is equals to a squared minus b squared. Okay, so in the other words, if you recognize the difference of square form, and you know it can be factored in this form, right? For example, in our case, we get x squared minus 25. So that's x squared minus 5 squared. 25 equals to 5 squared. So, and that matches the formula perfectly because a is x, b is 5, right? A is x, b is 5. Therefore, the factored form can be done with x plus 5 times x minus 5. It doesn't matter which order you put the factors. Example number 5. Okay, so suppose you have a form of x squared, sorry. Okay, minus 2x plus 1. And we want to factor this, right? So now we're still going to use that form. Okay, we're still going to use this form. All right, so x squared minus 2x, the number to match is negative 2. So we have 1 times 1. And the positive 1 is equals to 1 times 1 as well. So we do the cross product. 1 plus 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So we have a 2. But the 2 does not match the negative 2 here. So this combination is not going to work. But if we put this as a negative 2, negative 1, so 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So this is a negative 2. So finally, we made the match, perfect match. And then by this time, we get 1 times x plus 1. And we get the other factor, 1 times x, 1 times x plus 1. Okay, so we made it. And also we get 2 of the same factor, x plus 1. So x plus 1 equals to x plus 1 squared. Okay, And of course, you can check, right? You can check the formula by FOIL. And which is x plus 1 times x plus 1. Along the process, you probably realize, do we know a special formula has something to do with this? Oh, wait a minute. I think I should have minus, sorry. Minus here, minus. Sorry about that. Okay, x minus. So minus x. So in the end, we get x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay, you probably have recognized this is actually a perfect square. So if you recognize this is a perfect square, you might be reminded of these two formula, which is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, right? And the other one is a squared minus 2ab. And these will make a perfect square. So a plus b squared. And this other one would equal to a minus b squared. Okay, the key is to identify the perfect square here, right? So alternatively, you could have used a special formula if you recognize it. But if you don't recognize it, you can still use this technique to factor, right? So in this case, you can see a is x, right? So a is x, 2b is 2, so b must be 1. So you get a form, which is x squared minus 2 times x times 1, right? And plus 1 squared, right? You can see if you put the formula, like a is x, b is 1, and b is 1. So you get to use a special formula to factor. Okay, so that's, I think that's enough example for this episode. And the rest is just practice. Maybe I should do one more example. Let me do one more example with 2 variables. Okay, 2 variables. Example number 6. Okay, so this example, I like to use this one, which is x squared plus 10 times xy plus 21y squared. Okay, and we're going to still using the same setup. Okay, but we have 2 variables. Which one do we use, right? Which one do we use? And we will just use x as the leading, as the primary variable, and everything else will be considered, part of the constant. So 1 is equals to 1 times 1. Okay, and we need to work on 21y squared. 21y squared can be written in so many different ways. Of course, you can write 21 times y squared, right? But considering the quantity we want to match is really 10 times y x. So this is the quantity we want to match. We want to match that perfectly. So we're going to have to split the y into y times y. Right? So we can have 3y times 7y, right? And we can have a -3 times -7y, and so on and so forth. There are many combinations. You can have 1y times 21y, and so on and so forth, right? So let's take 3y times 7y. So we're going to put it here, right? So 3y, 7y, right? So 21y squared is 3y times 7y. So when we cross multiplication, 1 times 3y is 3y. 1 times 7y is 7y. And 3y plus 7y equals to 10y. 10y is exactly the perfect match. So we got our factors. Okay, this time composing the factors, we have to be very careful because x is the primary variable. So we're going to put 1 times x plus 3y. Okay, plus 3y. And this one is go here, is going to go there. So 1 times x plus 7y. There you go. So we got our factors. We got our factors. And here we go. We got our factors. And we're going to get x plus 3y multiply x plus 7y. And we can still check our work, right, by FOIL, the presumed factor. So, and if it works, then we will claim those are the factors. So x times x is x squared plus 7xy plus 3xy plus 21y squared. And after combining like terms, we get over here is 10xy. So these are the factors. These are the correct factors. That's all for this episode about factoring b squared, x squared plus bx plus c. So we just factored this form, which trinomial form. And next time we're gonna talk about the factoring of a times x squared plus bx plus c, where the leading coefficient is no longer 1. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.